Hello everybody and welcome. In today's video, I'd like to show you all of my plans for spring that I'd like to sew. I have many projects in mind, and as a disclaimer, I probably will not get to all of these projects, but part of the fun of sewing, I think, is imagining the projects that I'll get to and purchasing fabric, looking over my fabric collection and imagining what I'll make with it. And so perhaps this will inspire your imagination too, or give you inspiration for the projects that you might like to try for the spring season or summer, because I certainly garner a lot of fun from these imaginings. Whether or not I will get to them or not, I think I will get to a good many of them because it's a good variety of harder versus easier projects, and they're fabrics that I'm very, very motivated to work with. Also, I have a lot of plans this spring season. First, one of my good friends is having her first baby soon, and I'd like to make presents for her and her baby, although those are secret because she watches this channel, so I can't show you them now. I'll have to show you them when I've finished them and after she's received them. I also am going to New York for work, which is huge. It's a big, big thing for me. I work in publishing, if you don't know. I work in nonfiction illustrated books, and I work for a French company. I'm originally from the US, but I live and work in France and Paris, for example, if you're new here, hello. And I will be going to New York for work to meet with American publishers to see if they would be interested in purchasing the rights to translate our French books into English to sell to the Anglophone market. And I'm so excited. It's going to be a conference of 2 days, but I will be going in advance because I'm originally from Connecticut, the East Coast, and my childhood friends are still there. My family's now in California or on the West Coast. But I grew up there, and all of my childhood friends, my good friends are there, and so I'll be visiting with them for a week and having a girls' week with them before work starts in New York. And so I don't have any plans to sew anything specifically for that trip yet because I don't want to put too much pressure. It's already a pretty big trip, but I am starting to think of it, and I would like to bring you with me if I can. I recently went to London for work for the London Book Fair, which I go to every year as a book professional, and I just put out that video. If you liked that video and if you are interested in going to New York with me, let me know, because I'm not sure. It's sort of a new format for this channel, and yeah, I'd like to have your feedback on that. And so that's coming up in early May, end of April, early May. And then as soon as I get back from New York, I will be going to a wedding in the north of France with my husband. We've been invited to our friend's wedding. They're more my husband's friends, but mine now too, because we've been together for 11 years. And we will be attending that as soon as I'll be a little bit jet lagged from New York, but it'll be okay. But I do want to make a dress for that occasion, and I have narrowed down what I want to make into one idea. I had a very hard time figuring out what I wanted to make. So I have, figured that out. So let me show you all of my projects. I have about 15 to show you. If you're new here, welcome. This channel is mostly about sewing, but a little bit of knitting and a little bit of embroidery that I dabble in from time to time, and a little bit of my life here in Paris, France, because it does influence what I wear in a way. I mean, there are so many international trends now that what is French fashion versus American fashion? But there are some things, I think mostly my lifestyle, that influences what I make and what I wear, and so hopefully that'll interest you. And inspire you, and welcome. The first project that I'll be working on is the dress that I'd like to make for the wedding in May, because I will not have a whole lot of time to make it even a few weeks before the wedding because I'll be very, very busy, especially going to the US. And so I'd like to get a head start on that now, and I want to make it out of this linen fabric. So this is a linen and viscose blend that I found at Fabric Godmother last year, and I've been agonizing over what I want to make with this because it's just so gorgeous. It has a really soft drape to it. It's a little bit more of an open weave linen, and it's just lovely. I love the colors. They're very cool, sort of lilac and green and blue colors. And last year, I was planning on making an O's Patterns Ima dress out of this for my birthday, but what happened was I had a really, really hard time fitting the bodice of the Ima dress. So it's a very geometric shaped top. It's got lots of lines in the bust, and it's actually made to be worn without a bra. and it's supposed to be very close to the skin, even almost negative ease, to act as supportive as possible without a bra. And I encountered two problems. So the first was I wasn't able to find the fit that worked for me. The problem was there, along the side seam of the bodice, there was just enough, it fit just fine right here, but then towards the top of the side seam, there was at least 2 to 3 centimeters of gaping. And so to make the pieces fit together and for it to work with my body, I would have had to size down manually the bodice from even smaller than the smallest size available, and then redraw the line of the bodice neckline, because I would have to like cut into the neckline here. Anyway, it was a whole thing. I ended up putting it aside because I didn't finish it for my birthday or even for the nice summer days. And I was thinking of making it or getting back into that project for this wedding, but then ultimately I think that the geometric shape of that pattern, and then also the fact that the straps are quite wide, I think it's not quite for me. I think that I prefer something a little bit more smooth. I really like princess themed bodices. And so what I will be doing is I'll be making the Sew Over It Rosy Dress bodice, the square neck version, because it has a sweetheart neckline, and a square neck version with or without a collar. I'll be making it without the collar. And then I'm thinking of really small straps, because I don't need a whole lot of support in the bust, and so I don't need wide straps. I'll be wearing it with a strapless bra, and that'll be fine. And then making it with the Ima skirt. So it's a paneled skirt, and it has a slit in the center front side of the panel, and I think it's really elegant. It's a midi length skirt, and I think that I just need to make sure that it's centered around my natural waist, and so I'll have to just kind of play around with the seam allowances there and leave extra seam allowance around the bottom of the bodice, for example, to make sure that I can get it there. But yeah, I think it'll be an elegant dress. I will need to in the bodice. So I did make the Sew Over It Rosy Dress bodice with the wedding dress or wedding guest dress that I made last March, and I made a whole video about that if you'd like to check it out. I added boning, and then I added also silk organza as an underlining to reinforce the viscose fabric that I made that dress in, and then I had a lining as well to protect my skin from the boning, and then also to have something kind of nice against my skin. And so I'll be doing the same exact thing with this fabric, because even though this linen fabric is a bit thicker and sturdier than the viscose fabric I was making that dress in, it is still very, very drapey, and it has a pretty, not open weave, but more open. And I think that it will very possibly sort of relax over time and maybe sag. And so I want to reinforce it as much as possible. I could use iron-on interfacing as well, so I'll have to think about which one would be optimal and show you which one I choose when I come to it. But that is what I'll be making with this fabric. And I think I have 3 meters of it, so I have plenty, and I'm really, really excited about that, and I can't wait to get started. The second project that I would like to make is actually something that I had the idea for as I was thinking of what I wanted to wear to that wedding, because this was second in the running when I was thinking of what I wanted to make. And I want to use this fabric. So this is a light, is that the right side? Yeah, that's the right side. It is a light minty green textured cotton with a little bit of elastane in it for a little bit of give. And I got this from Sew Tissu, which is a fabric shop in Paris, at least 2 or 3 years ago, and I've just been not sure what to make with it ever since. And so what I would like to make is the Sew Over It Una dress. I've made this a few times in the past, and I did modify it a little bit to lower the waistline, because it is almost an empire waistline where the elastic is originally placed with that pattern, and so I lower it to my natural waistline. And so that's why it might look a little bit different on me than in the pattern photos, but I'll be doing that again, and I think it will be a little bit more formal, so perhaps I'll take it to New York with me, for example, or I'll probably wear it to work, for example, in the spring and summer. But because it has this really interesting textured surface, I think it'll be really interesting to make something that's in one color and plain enough, or not plain enough, but simple enough to show off the fabric, and the fact that it has a little bit of elastane in it. So the Sew Over It Una dress it does have sort of a pencil skirt shape to it, and it is tighter. And so I'm thinking that with this little bit elastic give, it'll be really comfortable to move around in and sit in especially. And so, yeah, I'm really happy that I finally found something to make with this. I have 2 meters of it, and I will be getting on that project. Yeah, I'm really, really happy to get to this fabric. I've been eyeing it in my stash for years. The next project that I'd like to work on is the True Bias Blair skirt that I'd like to make again in this light beige wool suiting that I found at Mills End Fabric in Reno when I went to go visit my sister last year. And it's this gorgeous fabric. It's got, does it have a twill weave? Yeah, it has a twill weave, so like a diagonal twill weave, and it has this beautiful drape to it. So I think it'll make a really nice skirt. It's not as stiff as the previous version that I made. So I made this skirt this fall. I made it in a dark green fabric. I think that was also a wool suiting fabric. And it had a little bit of elastane in it, so a little bit of give, but it was much stiffer, and it had almost a raincoat sort of, not, how do you say this? Almost like a trench coat sort of exterior. So it does make sort of a sound when I walk in it. This one will drape a little bit better, and I will be making the same length as I made the original dark green version in. So the pattern comes in 3 different lengths, a mini length, a midi length, and then a maxi length. The midi length is just below the knees, and the maxi length is around the ankles. And I wanted something in between the midi and the maxi length, and so I lengthened the midi length just below the knees about 5 inches, I think, 5 or 7 inches down, so that it would be more mid-calf length. And I'll be doing that again with this version. I will also be adding a lining. I did that with my first version because it was sticking to my legs and my tights, even with a half slip underneath. So I needed to add a full lining to keep it from sticking. And I will be doing that with this as well because I just prefer it. I think that it helps with the finishing on the inside of the skirt to hide the seam allowances and keep them safe, so not as much friction on the inside of the skirt, and then also a protective layer between me and the fabric. And then I think that this is mostly opaque, but just in case it's not, it'll keep any underclothes or anything that I wear underneath the skirt from being visible from the outside. And so yeah, I will be definitely adding a lining. And I just need to find a buckle and buttons and a lining for this, but then I can get onto it. This is not a priority project, but I think it would be really beautiful as a layering piece for spring, especially when it's still a little bit cold out. I think it would go a lot of the tops that I have, and I don't have any bottoms that are this light beige color, and I think it's a really versatile staple wardrobe color, and so I think that would be really useful in my wardrobe. And I'm excited to work with this fabric. I love working with wool, and this is a 100% wool, and it's so easy to shape with steam, and I think it's going to be lovely, so I'm excited to get to that. So staying with a little bit more formal projects that I can wear to work, for example, or to layer with more formal skirts, I would like to make the new Sew House 7 pattern that just released. It is the Revel top, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. It features a sewn-on shawl collar, and the version I want to make is the first version, version A, with the short sleeves, the crop version. It has really beautiful shaping with bust darts that kind of go slant up diagonally from the side seam at the waist, and then it has a yoke in the front that is just, oh, it looks really, really pretty. And I remember seeing this in a photo that Sew House 7 published a few months ago, and they teased this pattern a little bit, and I was so excited because it looks so beautiful, and I love shawl collars like that and sort of a V neckline, and then also the very soft sort of grown-on sleeve. I think it's going to look really, really beautiful, and I'd like to make it in this fabric. So this is a look at how it drapes. Oh. This is a viscose and linen blend. It's much lighter than what I thought it was going to be when it arrived by mail because I ordered it online. This is from Sacré Coupon, which is another fabric shop in Paris. It's by Montmartre and the Marché de Saint-Pierre. I feature this shop in my favorite fabric shops in Paris video. If you'd like to check that video out and see that shop, if you're planning a trip to Paris this spring or summer, for example, I highly recommend this shop. It's one of my absolute favorites. They have really, really beautiful fabrics, and it's all dead stock, so it goes pretty quickly. But this I got 3 meters of, and it is just absolutely gorgeous, so I will be making more. I don't need all 3 meters for the Revel top. I will be making more projects out of this, but it's super soft, and it has this sort of window hatched, I don't know how to say that, weave to it. and it's just gorgeous. It is a bit see-through, so I'll have to wear something like a camisole underneath, but I think that'll be fine. I think that the drapey nature of the pattern will look lovely over another top underneath. And yeah, I think it's going to be lovely as a layering piece. I'm always looking to make more white pieces to wear on top. I think that they go really well with the bottoms that I have, and this is going to be just a luxury against the skin, and it's a natural fiber, and so, oh, how lovely. The next two projects I'd like to make are the Sew Over It Silk Cami, and this is a pattern that I made in the past a few times, but I had to modify the pattern a lot in the past because their smallest size, when I first purchased the pattern, was a size 8, UK size 8, and my top half is a UK size 6, or at least in Sew Over It patterns, and they recently, a year or two ago, published this pattern again with an extended size range, including my size, so the size 6, and so I've been meaning to try that pattern again and making it again to see if it fits me correctly, because in the past I had to take in the shoulder straps, and then also there was gaping at the neckline, which was a bit unfortunate, but I would like to make it twice. So I'd like to make the first version in this sort of geometrically printed silk that I found at Sew Tissu, which is a shop in Paris, and they sell dead stock fabric. So it's recycled, or it's not recycled, but it's saved from the trash at the end of fashion lines or mill productions. And it's just super, super soft, and I think it would be pretty formal because it is black and white, but I think it would be perfect for layering underneath cardigans in the spring season and wearing to work, for example, or maybe to New York. Is this the right side? I think so. They look the same to both sides. I will have to line this entirely, so the pattern features a facing to finish the neckline and arm size or armholes because it's sleeveless, it's just straps. And I don't want the facing showing through, and so I'll probably line it entirely with probably a white or, yeah, probably a white viscose that is of equal weight so that I have something soft against my skin and so that it won't be as see-through. And I think that that's going to be lovely to wear. And then the second one I would like to make out of this gorgeous viscose or rayon fabric from Mills End Fabric in Reno. This is another fabric that I got when I was visiting my sister. I have 1 yard of this, and I just thought it was so pretty, these little roses. How lovely. And it's not too childish, or I think, oh, I just love this color. And I think they're slightly abstract, so it'll work on me and not look too babyish. And I'd like to make the silk cami out of this as well. And I will be lining this in a white viscose as well to keep it from being transparent. And I think it's just gonna be really sweet, and especially paired with my Sew Over It skirt. I can't remember the name of it, but it's bright baby blue, and it's buttoned down, and it's a pencil skirt, and I think it'll go really well with that, for example, and be very spring-like and lovely. I don't usually go for such feminine fabrics, but when I saw this, I just fell in love. I really love this pink color, and it's sort of an off-white background. It's not harsh white or optically white, so it does wrinkle quite a lot. You can see it wrinkles pretty easily, but I think that as a camisole, it'll be easy to upkeep, so iron before wearing, for example, without sleeves. The sleeves make it much more difficult, and so I probably, won't have too much difficulty wearing it. Next, I have 2 more knit projects out of this double knit fabric that I find at Tissu MR or Stoff MR, which is a fabric shop based in Germany, and they have the most beautiful double knit fabrics. These are made of mostly viscose, and so they're super soft, super squishy. They have, this slightly marled texture to them, the ones that I bought here, and I've been saving these for spring because they're both really lovely colors, and I'd like to make the same thing out of them. So I'd like to make the Helen's Closet Blackwood cardigan again because it's a lovely layering piece. I'm going to make the high hip version because there's a long length and there's also a high hip version. I'd like it to be a little bit shorter, and I'm going to make it as I made a pink version last spring, with 3/4 length sleeves rather than the long sleeves. because I will probably be layering it over more spring outfits, and therefore I don't need the long sleeves for warmth, and I think that it looks a little bit, it sort of lightens up the silhouette when it's a 3/4 length sleeve. And so I'll be making it first in this really lovely lilac color, sort of light lilac. I think I look good in purple. I'm not sure, but I like purple. And I think that it'll look lovely. And yeah, I only have 1 meter of both of these colors, which is a shame because I recently made a Sew House 7 Tabor V-neck sweater in exactly this kind of fabric, but in white, and it worked so well, and I love it so much that I've been thinking of making it again. But I first want to get a cardigan out of this. I think that I'll use it much more often. It'll be much more useful in my wardrobe as a cardigan, but if I have enough, I'd love to make a sweater, but I don't think I'll have enough. I don't think so. So I mustn't get my hopes up. And then I also have this lovely light green fabric, which it just screams spring to me. Green is sort of a theme this spring season. I've been drawn to green a lot more. So I think that this, for example, with the fabric that I'm going to make the dress in for the wedding, it's going to go together pretty well. Let me get that so I can show you. Yeah, I think that these work pretty well, and so maybe I can take it with me to the wedding and wear it as a layer just in case it gets kind of cold. That might be too much green, but we'll see. We'll see. But anyway, I'm excited to work with this fabric again. This pattern is really easy to sew up, and it is a wardrobe staple for me. I have it in a few other colors, and I just absolutely love wearing them. I think that it's really versatile, and I love this fabric. I'm obsessed with this fabric. I'll link the fabric store below because I always order online, and their delivery and everything is great, and so they have a great selection of knit fabrics, and I highly recommend checking it out. But yeah, this is super stretchy, it's gonna be super comfortable, and I can't wait to wear this. Recently, I was in London for work, and before getting there, I asked my hotel if they would accept a package for me because I've been going to that hotel for a few years now. They're very kind and they know me a little bit now. And so they said yes, and it's because there are lots of fabric shops in the UK that I absolutely love, but it's too expensive to order now ever since Brexit. Shipping is just incredibly expensive, and then there's duties and customs, so I don't really order from the UK anymore, which is a shame. But I love Fabric Godmother, for example, and they don't have a shop front in London that I could go visit. At least I don't think so. And so I wanted to place an order with them. This is my second year in a row that I've done that as a treat. The fabric that I'm going to be making that wedding guest dress in is also something that I had shipped to me for the London Book Fair last year. But this year I found a few different fabrics that I showed you in my London video, but I'd like to make a project out of this fabric that I found there. So this is a dark green jersey fabric, and you can see it's really slinky and lovely. And I cannot tell you how soft this is. This is the softest jersey fabric I have ever touched in my life, and it is because it is a cashmere blend. And that's why I purchased it, because I can find jersey fabrics here in Europe, but I've never seen a cashmere blend fabric before. And so, oh, what luxury. So I have 1.5 meters of this because it was very expensive. I couldn't afford more. And I'd like to make a Paper Cut Patterns Capelia cardi out of this. And I'd like to make the wrap version because I've made both versions before. There's a wrap, and then there's also a hi-hat version that still wraps, but it doesn't have a tie. And I'd like to make the tie version because I think it fits more at the natural waist, and it defines the waist a little bit better, and you can control how far it wraps as well, and so you can loosen it or tighten it as you like, if you want the V-neck to be deeper or higher, or if you need a little bit more space, for example, if you're wearing it over something a little bit more bulky. And so it's a really versatile pattern, and I think that in this dark green color it would be really, really gorgeous, and it would be super soft and just wrapping myself in luxury. I think that this fabric is really stretchy, and it looks like it wrinkles a little bit, but I think it'll be okay. And I'll just have to use a needle for super, super stretchy fabrics and be very careful while I'm sewing and use my walking foot, my machine's walking foot. But other than that, I think it's gonna go really well, and I think it's gonna be a piece that layers well over lots of different skirts, including the next one I'd like to show you. So a second fabric in my Fabric Godmother haul when I went to London this year is this really gorgeous gingham printed black and white linen fabric. This is 100% linen, I think, and it's just lovely. It's not too scratchy like linen can be, and it's got this lovely bounce and drape to it. It's not too stiff, and I think it's going to be really, really nice. So I have a skirt in a cotton gingham. It's checked as well in black and white, and the checks are a little bit smaller, but I made a silver rosy skirt in it a long time ago when I started sewing, and it was sort of my house skirt in the summertime when it was really, really hot on heat wave days. I would wear that around the house, and it was lovely, but it didn't really suit my style, even when I first made it, because it was a little bit too vintage. I wore it out maybe once or twice, and I just didn't feel comfortable in it. It felt way too vintage. And then also, I prefer hems that are below the knee. I think that it suits me better, or at least it suits my tastes and my style better. And so I just didn't really wear it except for around the house, and even now I don't really reach for it around the house. And so I'd like to make a more refined version, or at least for me, a version that I would wear, because I do think that black and white gingham is really, really beautiful and sort of a staple color or kind of piece that would work with a lot of the fabrics that I have, with a lot of the tops that I've made, including what I'm planning to make with this green fabric. I think these would go together really, really well. And I'd like to make the silver ruby skirt, which is a free pattern. If you're interested, you just sign up for the newsletter and you can get the ruby pattern for free. And it is a lovely sort of vintage leaning pattern. It's got gathers at the front, but at the side fronts, so that the center front panel with the button down paneling, or not panel, but button down placket is straight and flat, so it doesn't add too much volume at the tummy. And then it has an elastic waistband in the back that adds gathering to the back, but then also provides really comfortable waistband, so that when you sit, it expands, and then it sort of snaps back in, not snaps, but goes back into place when you stand back up, and it just looks really, really comfortable and really lovely, and I think it would look really nice in this gingham fabric. I'm not sure what color buttons I'm going to get yet, but I think it's going to look really, really nice. So I'm excited to get to that. And I think it's going to be sort of a summertime, or even spring, more spring, but well, more summer, I think. Hot weather skirt, but I can't wait to get started on it. The next project I'm not very sure of. It's more of, yeah, musing, but let me know what you think and what you think I should make out of this fabric, because I've been searching and searching and searching, and I haven't found what I want to make. And so I'd like to make, or I'm thinking of making, a Helen's Closet Donovan skirt out of this really, really lovely viscose fabric that I bought during my fabric haul from Fabric Godmother last year. And I just absolutely love the colors in this. It's this light pink and cornflower blue, purpley blue, and oh, it's just absolutely lovely. And it's got a nice sheen to it. It's a viscose twill fabric, so it's really soft, very, very smooth, and it's got, yeah, a little bit of a sheen to it. And it would be perfect for a bias cut garment. And at first I was thinking of making a bias cut skirt or a bias cut dress. For example, the new Nina Lee London pattern is the Alameda dress, I think. It's got a cowl neck, and then it's got a waist seam to define the waist, which suits me better than just a regular slip bias cut dress. And then, yeah, a skirt that can be just below the knee or maxi length, or I think a longer midi length. And this would be perfect for that. But I think that the print is a little bit too busy for me to wear full length. I think that would be a little overwhelming for me, at least for my style. And then also, I found that in the bias cut garments that I've made in the past, I just don't reach for them, or I don't feel very comfortable wearing them. And I think it's because bias cut garments are meant to flow, but also cling. And I feel almost naked in them. I like more of a structured look, I think. Even under this dress, for example, this is a Sew Over It Heather dress in a pretty thick double knit fabric in polyester. I still wear a camisole underneath so that it's smooth and for warmth. I don't like lumps and bumps, even just from my bra showing, and I think that a bias cut dress, you cannot hide anything. It shows everything. Even if you wear a slip underneath or shaping or whatever, it does take a lot more work then. I don't particularly want to wear shaping. And especially, I don't like anything that hugs my tummy. And I was thinking of making So I love the shape of the Alameda dress, the Nina Lee London Alameda dress. It just looks absolutely gorgeous, and it would be perfect for the wedding that I'm going to, and this fabric looks like it would be perfect for that pattern. But especially at a French wedding, you do eat a lot. The food is copious and it's delicious, and so it's irresistible, and I will have a food belly by about 7 o'clock in the evening. And then I'll be getting up and dancing and all that. So I don't especially want something clinging on a bias to my belly and thighs. And so yeah, as much as that would be a perfect association, I don't think that I would wear it or I'd feel comfortable wearing it. And so I've been trying to think of something to make. And so I was thinking, even though this fabric is really, really light and clingy and drapey, perhaps if I make something with gathers, I would feel more comfortable wearing it because it'd have a little bit more volume, especially around my hips and thighs and bum. And the Helen's Closet Donovan skirt is one of my absolute favorite patterns of all time. I wear it all the time. It's really, really versatile and really elegant. It's casual, but also more formal. I can wear it to work. I can wear it every day. And I think in this fabric, it would be a little bit more of a special occasion sort of Donovan skirt because it is loud and bright, at least for me. And I want to make it because I absolutely love this fabric. But I'm thinking, is that a waste of such a gorgeous fabric? Should I just suck it up and make a bias cut dress and just like wear it? And I don't know. Let me know what you think. It's just so beautiful. I love these colors. My husband has weighed in against the bias cut dress. He thinks that it's too much, but I don't usually listen to him. He has lots of thoughts about the clothes that I make, and sometimes he changes his mind. So I will listen to you more, you who sew and who experiment with fashion and who are brave. Anyway, yeah, so let me know what you think, and I look forward to hearing what you say. I'd like to make a second, if I make a Helen's Closet Donovan skirt out of that last fabric, I'd like to make a second one in this fabric. So this is a 100% viscose fabric that I found at Rainbow Fabrics, and I just absolutely love this. Even though these colors don't scream spring or summer, I think that it would look lovely, especially in the summertime. Something about how yellow or orangey yellow this sunlight is in the summertime, I think that it would look lovely with this. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think, yeah, I absolutely love these colors. Whoops. And as you can see from selvage to selvage, it has sort of a vertical vine or falling flowers print to it. And I think that that would look absolutely gorgeous. And also it's a viscose that doesn't wrinkle too much, even though it's 100% viscose, which is interesting. I think it's more of a crepe. It has more of a crepe feel or surface to it, like kind of pebbly, a little bit rough, not too rough. But yeah, this would, for example, travel well. And yeah, I think it would look lovely as a Donovan skirt. And yeah, I love this fabric. I love how I can experiment with more flowery or bright or busy fabrics with the Donovan skirt. I think that it's the perfect sort of canvas to show off fabric. And so yeah, I will definitely be making that out of this. And oh, I can't wait. The second to last project that I have in mind is a more staple, regular, everyday, very simple top. And I would like to make the Seamwork Hansi top out of this black textured cotton that I got from a German haberdashery and fabric shop in Frankfurt, but I can't remember the name. I'll link it. I think they're closed actually. Yeah, they've closed permanently. Last time I was there, they didn't exist anymore, which is sad. But yeah, I made this top in 2 other colors in the exact same fabric, in a white and a teal sort of blue-green fabric last year in my Hansi Top 3 ways video. And I did sort of a sew along for the first white version if you'd like to try it out. This is a free pattern offered by Seamwork. This video is not sponsored, but it is a great pattern, especially to show off really lovely fabric, and it's got a lovely neckline and cut-on sleeves, so you don't have to worry about an arm side and inserting sleeves. It has bust darts for shaping and an optional patch pocket. And I think with this black fabric, it's gonna make a really basic, lovely black top. And I'm not sure if a black top will be incredibly useful to me. I've never really experimented with wearing black up top and sort of a natural cotton or linen, sort of a light hot weather fabric like this, but it might be really versatile and it might go really well with my white linen sienna skirt that I made a few years ago. It might look really classic that way. So it'll be an easy project to make and hopefully something I can reach for and wear, and especially in the sort of warmer months when it's hot and I want to wear a cotton or linen. I think this will be a satisfying sew and easy to sew. The very last project that I would like to make this spring season is with this really gorgeous cotton sateen fabric that I've had in my stash for at least 5 years. And the reason I haven't made anything with it yet is because it's got this slight sheen to it. Also, the colors are a bit too orange or harsh to wear next to my face. I've only got 2 meters, so I couldn't make an entire full-length dress out of it, or, for example, or something with lots of gathers, or a robe, for example. And because the print is so large, pattern matching is going to be complicated if I don't want flowers sort of cut off and placed all over the place when I cut out the project and sew it together. But recently I made 2 pairs of Sew Over Luna pajama pants in both checked cotton flannel, and I absolutely love wearing them and sleeping in them in the wintertime because they're nice and warm and cozy. But I thought, why not try making it in a cotton sateen like this one? Also, I recently made a Sew Over Edie top in an apricot colored viscose jersey fabric that is much more orange than I've ever worn before, and I think that this would suit it very, very well. And so I think I'm going to make the Sew Over Luna pajama pants out of this. I think it's going to be a little bit hard to match up this pattern or this motif along the inner seam of the pants. This pattern features just one large piece for each leg, so there isn't an outer seam and an inner seam. There's not a front and a back to the leg, they're both cut together. So there's no seam along the outside of the pants, which makes it easier to disguise, for example, big pattern repeats, or easier to pattern match because you only have to worry about the inseam and not the outer seam. And I think that, yeah, this would be lovely to wear to bed and to lounge in at home, and bright and happy, and I would finally use this fabric. This is 100% cotton. It's almost kind of like a Japanese, or yeah, more of a Japanese pattern to it, I think, in the way that the flowers are. I'm not sure what you think, but it just reminds me of Japan for some reason, and especially the colors, sort of this like orange and peach tones, and I love it, and I think it'll work that way. I am still working on my Bella Loves Patterns Grace coat in this periwinkle blue coating fabric, but as you can see, it's not cut out yet. And that is because I encountered a problem with the pattern when I was toiling. I'm still toiling, or making a toile to check the fit. I purchased the video course so that I could sew along with Bella and get motivated, and it was very motivating to be able to sort of follow along and feel like I'm not alone in this process, especially because there are so many steps. The instructions are over 90 pages long. But I encountered a problem with the pattern because the sleeve gusset was not matching up correctly, and I couldn't figure out why. I didn't know if it was me or not, and Bella got back to me right away and checked it out, and turns out there was a problem with the pattern sizing. 2 of the sizes were reversed in the lines, or indicated reversed in reversed order, in the pattern lines, and so that was pretty easily figured out. But it did take about a week to figure that out. Sorry about the lighting, it just got really, really dark outside. I think it's gonna rain. It looks like I'm talking to you from a cave. Look at that shadow. Anyway, she did get back to me right away, and she reimbursed the pattern in the video course for me for the trouble, which is very, very kind of her. And I'm excited to get back into it, but it kind of broke my rhythm, and I kind of got out of the flow, and now it's almost mid-March, and I'm wondering if it's worth, because this project is going to take me another 2 to 3 weeks at least to make. It's a huge project, and by the time I finish it, will it be cold enough to wear it? I'm not sure. Should I just wait until next season or next year to make it? I don't know. Let me know what you think. Should I power through and make it and just have it for next year. Oh, I think it's just so gorgeous, this fabric. And it does tend to be cold and rainy and kind of blustery until June here in Paris, France. But I don't know. It depends on my workload with this. I have a pile of fabric here of all the fabrics I just showed you of everything I want to make. I'm not sure. I'll have to prioritize and figure that out very, very soon. Very, very quickly for knitting, I am still working on my Creabea kip sweater that I've been working on since September. And I almost have the second sleeve done. Almost, and then all I have to do is, now I need to do the ribbing at the bottom of the sleeve and then add ribbing to the neckline, and then I can block it and then be done. But so far I think it's going to look really nice. I think it's going to be worth so much time spent on it, and it's actually a really satisfying thing to knit. I think I really love the pattern. I got into the groove. I've finished the main pattern, so this sort of herringbone, not stitch, but knitting pattern. I think it's just a lovely texture, and it will be less lumpy once I block it. But I think I will treasure this sweater once I finish it, and I will finish it soon. But I won't tell you any more knitting projects in advance because who knows, this might take me another 3 months. And I'll let you know if I finish it at the end of the season. Hopefully I will. And then lastly, this spring season, I'll be taking part in another Kogenzashi embroidery class at the end of April is the next session. And this is something I've been taking embroidery, so this is a Japanese traditional embroidery method, Kogenzashi, and I took 2 classes, or I went to 2 different workshops earlier in the wintertime, in February and January, and I made the Ume pattern, which is a plum blossom, and then this one I learned how to make just a few weeks ago, and it is a cat footstep or footprint. And so I'm excited to keep learning how to make this. Eventually we're going to learn how to put the designs together to make sort of a band of embroidery, and I'm really excited about that. I think I mentioned earlier in another video that I wanted to learn better how to embellish my projects, so rather than looking for fabrics that are already, or just working with the print of a fabric, I want to be able to add details to it, such as interesting trimmings or embellishments in general, because it's not something that I usually invent with or I'm creative with, and so it's something I'd like to incorporate into my sewing. And the thing about embroidery like this is it's very meditative for me, and so it sort of takes me out of the grind of sewing projects, because sometimes, as you can see, I have so many ideas that it's like I feel time poor is something that I've heard recently as a phrase, and that's absolutely true. I feel time poor and I feel very frustrated and sometimes I don't appreciate the projects that I've made because I'm already thinking of the next one. And so working on something that's accessory, somewhat related, because I like hand sewing, and embroidering is very similar to hand sewing. Something that takes me out of that, but I'm still creative with and still working with my hands with, is, I find, calming for me. So I'm excited to keep learning this method and keep learning different motifs. And I'll let you know what motifs I learn in the next season. So there you have it. Those are all of the spring projects I have planned for this season, or at least that I'd like to get to. Let me know which is your favorite, or which one you think I should prioritize, or that you'd absolutely like to see made. I won't make any promises, but I'd love to see which one you pick. And if you have any projects planned for this spring, whether they're big projects or staple projects for your wardrobe, or even making for other people, which some of you say that you do, and I find it really interesting to see what you're making for them. So don't hesitate to leave a comment below. I will link in the description all of the patterns I've discussed, as well as the fabric shops I mentioned, if they still exist. And if you liked this video, don't hesitate to leave a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss any new videos from me. I hope that you are doing very well, and thank you for watching this video. I will see you here very soon with a new video, and take care. Bye-bye.